It's about that time. Almost famous. Damn, I think I'm famous. Why they think
The reason I'm out here doing this for independent artists, I felt there was a void within the industry for independent artists. They had no voice. I am the voice. I am Eddie Kayne.
Damn, I think I'm famous. Why they think
It's your man, the big homie Eddie Kayne.
Eddie Kayne?
I'm sitting with a woman, standing with a woman who needs no introduction. If you were to research, and I always advise people to research.
Research is king.
The people that you talk to and you consider a source. When you consider someone to be legendary in the game and really be the plug. Because everybody's the plug.
Right.
This is the plug. Do your research. Wendy Day. Google her. Whatever you need to do. Call some friends. Ask somebody. But this is the true plug of the industry. We're going to start this interview because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a fan of
Thank
your
you.
work.
Thank you.
I know the history because I did my research. We're going to start early on in your career.
Okay.
What made Wendy Day interested in hip-hop music?
Insanity. No, that's not true. I started listening to hip hop in 1980.
Okay.
Before some of you were even born.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the energy and the passion in the music.
Okay.
You know, and that's really what drew me into it. I started listening to lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love the beat. Everybody loves the beat because you like to move and
Right.
groove to it. But the lyrics are what sucked me in. I remember listening to Chuck D from Public Enemy, and he was talking about Malcolm X.
Okay.
And I was very intrigued by who Malcolm was. So I did what everybody does when they hear the name Malcolm X. I read the autobiography
Right.
of Malcolm X, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the autobiography, they talked about some books that he had read when he was incarcerated. And I went to the library in New York, the Schomburg Center in Harlem, and I found some of those books and I read those books. And that took me down a path of going to study African American Studies at Temple University under Dr. Malefi Asante, who's one of my heroes. And I learned about the struggle, and I learned about how people of color are oppressed in the in the world, but especially in the United States. And I realized that in the music industry, it's kind of the same old shit. You know, it's the same thing. And I decided to start Rap Coalition. I started it in 1992 with my own money. I decided that I wanted to help make a difference with rap artists because it was my favorite music. It was like my way of giving back, Eddie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to help rap artists that were in bad situations get out of those bad situations.
Wow.
And into good situations.
There were numerous artists that you helped do that. Could you give me just a few of those artists that you helped out of those bad situations?
Wow, there were so many, like thousands of
Definitely,
artists, in bad situations. Common, Killer Priest, Raz Kaz, God, there's so many. Like for me to even sit here and name drop.
Right.
I've been doing this for 24 years.
Wow.
All the way up to Young Buck recently, right?
Wow, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, so there's just been a lot of artists that I've really gotten to help. The ones that really stand out though are the Chameleons, because that was a turning point in my career. That was in '94. I pulled them off of. They were on Island Records, and I pulled them off of Island Records, and one of the two guys in Chameleons had a cousin named Tobin Costin out on the West Coast, and Tobin was running Masterpiece label for him.
Oh.
So they put me in touch with Tobin, and Tobin was in the midst of negotiating the deal at Priority, and they were a little bit nervous because they were going through E.A. Ski and his manager at the time, and E.A. Ski was signed to Priority Records. And they were a little nervous to have somebody that was signed to the label doing the deal to get somebody on that label. So they reached out to me and said, hey, could you help us? And the rest, as they say, is history. So I got to play a role in Master P's first original deal, and he got to own his masters. And that's a great first deal to have like
No
under
question.
my belt, right?
No question.
So I was able to go on from there, and I worked with Do or Die in Chicago and Twista in Chicago, and then I went on to work with Eminem, which was really exciting. That was kind of
Working
cool.
with M, one of the best rappers in the industry.
Not only one of the best
But
rappers,
businessman.
but just a really good human being. Like I remember going through his original production deal that he had with the Bass Brothers, and I remember arguing with Paul Rosenberg, saying, I think I found a way out of this contract. And M just deaded it. He's like, it doesn't matter whether there's a way out or not. Like, these guys have really helped me when nobody else did. Like, what I don't want to get out of the deal. And I'm like, wow. Like, how cool is that? That somebody wants to stay in a deal with a production company when there's another bigger deal on the table. And I was so impressed by that. Like that loyalty and that.
That was like a reverse, because you had just put blood, sweat, and tears in trying to find a way out, and then he comes back and says,
I love that.
Nah.
I think that's
and
so cool.
You could have been pissed off.
Right.
But
I wasn't. I thought it was the ultimate
reversed.
loyalty. And the truth is, I don't know if he could have gotten out or not. Like Paul Rosenberg and I were arguing that. Paul was like, no, that's not what that clause means. And I'm like, I think this is what that clause means. And when I asked my attorney, he's like, yeah, it could be interpreted that way. Like we could fight that. Like we could, that could be a grounds to sort of,
get out of the
try to pull him out of that deal. And the fact that he did, he deaded it. He's like, no, I don't want to get out of this deal. I think that they deserve what they get because they've done so much for me. And I'm from a world where rappers are like, they're going to sign 50 million contracts and they're not going to pay attention. They just want the better opportunity. They're going to jump from ship to ship to ship, until they get into that big deal. Yeah.
You're infamous with the labels. They hate you. They hate to see you coming.
Yeah, they probably do. I've also made them a lot of money though, because I did the Cash Money deal. I did
talk about.
You know what I mean?
We got to get into the
Eminem deal. Like there's I made the labels a lot of money, especially the Universal family, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of money. So I guess they probably do hate me. I hadn't really thought about that.
They don't like to see you coming from the standpoint they know what you're talking about. A lot of the artists.
That's true.
A lot of the artists don't research. A lot of the artists.
Why is that?
Because artists, to me, think that their artistry is so good that they don't that everything is going to be carte blanche and handed to them. They don't think.
Oh, that's so wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you're not wrong.
Right.
That thinking is so messed up. Like, that thinking is just so wrong.
But because I think they see the Waynes and they see all of these different cats that have made it in the industry, I think that they think that, quote unquote, happens to everybody.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of the issues with today's industry is. So that's why the labels can't stand you, because you're going to make sure people look. You're not driven by the money.
No.
You're not driven by the fame, obviously, because you've never been in the forefront.
Right.
But what you are driven by is trying to help people, and I think that's where a lot of your great fortune has come from.
I think so too. I've been able to really make a lot of difference in a lot of lives, and that's my goal. Like, that's what drives me. I really want to help people.
One thing that we're going to talk about briefly, because everybody's talked about it, but it wouldn't be a part of your legacy if we didn't talk about it. And I know you hate talking about it. Is a lot of people do care about you and love you dearly because you've been instrumental in their deals, but some people didn't find it necessarily needed to pay you for your services.
Right.
And let's get into it real briefly. Cash Money. You took them to Universal, got them a major deal. How much was the deal for?
$30 million.
$13 million. Was that normal at that time?
Oh God, no. No, it's not even normal today. Yeah, no.
How were you able to construct and deal to get Baby and Slim that type of money from Universal?
You have to understand that they had put out 31 releases over a 6-year period. So they were hugely successful on their own.
Okay.
They didn't need Universal. Universal really needed them because they needed product in their pipeline. They needed more market share.
Right.
So, and they weren't the only ones bidding. There were a couple of labels bidding on that, but Universal just seemed like the best place to go because they were able to retain their masters. They were able to utilize whatever department of Universal they wanted to. If they didn't want to utilize a certain department, they could go elsewhere, and that was unheard of. You know, they could go and hire their own video promotion team, you know, to work their product.
Definitely.
You know, at that point, Universal was just a distributor.
So now you have, like Universal and a lot of great labels, you have really changed the industry. You have been a driving force in the way that the industry have operated over the years.
I hope so.
Quote unquote,
I hope so.
you helped take a lot of artists to different labels to shape the industry.
Right. Well, and the thing is, Eddie, when I took artists, and I don't shop deals anymore, but when I did, because I don't think you need labels anymore. In case you're going to ask that.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about independent.
Right.
The new wave is independent.
Absolutely,
and we know that.
absolutely.
We know that.
But when I used to take artists to labels, I kind of was like a matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there was a label that was great at street music, that's where I would take the street artist. I wouldn't take the street artist
To an epic or something.
to Interscope, right, which is super pop,
Right,
At
right.
least it was back in the day. So you want to make sure that you go where the label is best at your type of music.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Definitely. $30 million. You were supposed to get a cut. You were supposed to get taken care of.
Yeah, they were supposed to pay me. They didn't. I sued them. I got paid.
How do you feel about, as you watch the Wayne situation unfold with Baby, and you having a real great relationship with these guys at one point in time, does that kind of like solidify what you basically went through about the business with Cash Money?
You know, the thing is that with Cash Money, they don't seem to pay anybody unless they have to. And I had hoped that because Wayne was their anchor act that they would pay him, but apparently that's their business model.
That's their
MO.
that's how they
their
rock.
MO. It's how they rock, yeah. You know, so when I first didn't get paid by them, I was very offended by it because I had worked really hard for them for 9 months,
Definitely.
basically for free.
Right.
And I was kind of upset by that, but I realized that it wasn't personal.
Wow.
You know, they just don't pay anybody. It just seems to be their business model.
So moving forward,
And it's not just them, by the way. There's a lot of people out here that don't pay their artists. They're not unique to that.
are you serious? How do you change the culture of, is that getting the labels out of the way and artists staying independent?
Absolutely. I mean, if you can cut out the middlemen and you can go right to the money, you're going to get paid.
Definitely.
You know, if you're an artist and you can go right to the fans and the fans pay you directly, you don't have to worry about not getting paid.
So back again, it results, artists need a fan base to be successful.
Absolutely
in
they
this
do.
business.
Yeah, absolutely. Talent is not enough. Talent's never been enough. But in today's music industry, it's especially not enough. Talent is easy to find. I can find talent on every street corner. You know, and everybody's talented. What you need is a buzz. There has to be some sort of a hype surrounding you. You have to have a fan base. It has to be a real hype. You can't just go and
can't
buy.
embellish.
Yeah,
Can't
you
embellish.
you can't just go buy followers and pay people to come see you perform in a club. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be legitimate. It's got to be real.
So what would you suggest? It starts with the marketing promo.
Absolutely.
I preach this to artists. Marketing promo is significant in today's, because you have the internet.
Right.
The internet is the biggest. You don't have to do the flyers. You don't have to walk around. The internet is the biggest piece to success today.
Right.
Why is it that you think that so many artists still don't get it?
Do you want the real answer to
I
that?
do.
Laziness. I think it takes work to win, and I think people inherently are lazy. And I think a lot of artists would rather spend their time in the studio recording. They don't want to get online. They don't want to talk on their social media. They don't want to go out and perform. They don't want to go out and meet their fan base. And the internet is hugely important, right? But you also have to touch people in person. You can't just be on the internet and win. You've got to do both, right?
So speaking on that, let me just say this. You have events. The new wave is having artists to sell tickets to their people. A lot of artists think that's frivolous. It's not a good approach to have you sell. But to me, that's how you build a organic fan base. What would you say to an artist that says selling tickets is not the key to building a fan base?
I think you've got to start somewhere, and I have to admit to you, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of an artist having to get their family and friends to come, and not because there's something wrong with that. It's because artists will go where it's easy. So you know me, I'm gonna ask you to spend $10 on a ticket to come see me. You already like and love me. What I want is him, her, these people that don't know me to come. And I'm probably not going to walk up to a stranger and ask them to buy a ticket to my show. So that's my problem. My problem isn't with an artist having to sell tickets. My problem is that they go to the path of least resistance, right? So they're bringing 10 of their friends and family, and every time they're doing a show, they're asking those same people to come and support them. They're not building a fan base. They're just dragging their friends wherever they go.
So I hear a lot, too, that it's the promoter's responsibility to bring the people out. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, well, I think it's the artist's job to build people that want to come, but I think it's the promoter's job to let people know that the artist is going to be there. So it's sort of like a joint venture, if you will. If you're a promoter and I'm an artist, I have to bring my fan base to the show, but you also have to advertise that I'm going to be there so that other people that I don't reach will know to come see me. So it's sort of like I'm helping you make money and you're helping me make money. It's
Exactly.
It's like a hand in hand.
But when those artists can't bring anybody out?
Well, when you start, you can't bring anybody out, can you?
No.
You've got to build your fan base.
But when they have been in it for a period of time and they still have this lackluster or this mindset.
Yeah, now we have a problem. If they've been in it a while and they don't have a fan base, then
I know artists who've been in doing this for
shouldn't
7
be
or
an
8
artist.
years. Did you just say that?
I said maybe they shouldn't be an artist. Maybe there's a better job in the music industry for someone who can't build a fan base.
But they might be great artists. They might be great at what they do with the artistry, but they just can't bring people out.
Then maybe they should have a team. Maybe they should have someone like you working with them, and it would be your job to help them build their fan base. Sort of like the Dame Dash to Jay-Z model,
And
right?
you're right. But here
Because not
again-
every artist is an entrepreneur.
But it goes back again. You need a budget.
Oh, hell yeah, you need a budget. This is not a free industry.
But a lot
this
of
is a
people-
very expensive industry. in
But
fact.
everybody wants you to work for free, Wendy.
Of course they do.
Even me.
Of course they do. Of
And
course
when
they
I
do.
don't work for free, or when you don't work for free, we're looked upon as we're leeching off of artists. What would you say to that?
I think that we're called haters at that point. Like, oh man, you're blocking me. You know, it's. There's so many artists that I've worked with at a reduced rate or for free if I've believed in them. You know, if they've really got something going and I feel I can add to it, that I'm not worried about somebody saying, oh, you're being a leech or you're, you know, a culture vulture or you're really making money off of this industry, because I've kind of proven that I'm not, you know?
Definitely.
But I think that for an artist, first of all, you got to really believe in yourself. You've got to really have something to offer to a team that you want to work for a reduced rate or for free. And I think if somebody really does believe in you at the entry level, then they will work for a reduced rate or for free. You know, there's plenty of artists that I've taken a shine to, that I've helped.
But they brought something to the table.
But they brought a lot to the table, not just something. Something is what you bring to the table to hire me.
Oh.
A lot is what you bring to the table if you're asking for the favor deal or you're asking for something that I don't normally do.
Wow. In closing, you are not scared to inhabit. You've been in some of the roughest neighborhoods, hung with some of the biggest drug dealers, gangsters, killers, if you
I
want.
love gangsters. I don't know what it's some sort of weird thing that I have.
What makes you not shy away from that? Because you could be
The realness.
There are a lot of
The realness.
and that's crazy, because let's be honest. White America is scared of the urban community, based off of, not all of them, but based off of some of the language I've heard from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as well. Who would you vote for?
I can't vote for Trump. I can't do it. I can't do it. I wouldn't do it. You know, I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker, so I've seen how he treats the little people, the folks that he hires to work on his hotels and his buildings and his projects. You know, he doesn't pay them. So I being a little person that has gone through that myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can't condone that. I also think he's an incredible racist. So I can't condone somebody who's going to disenfranchise a large portion of the population. You know, like folks are disenfranchised already. I'm not crazy about Hillary, but I'm going to have to vote for her because I'm voting against Trump.
Hey,
You know, I
Talk-
think she's the lesser of two evils.
definitely. Talking about
But-
racism. Oh, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
baby.
No, I was gonna say, you know, I thought hip hop had bridged the gap with racism. I thought that we were finally at a point where you and I could stand here like this and be comfortable.
I'm comfortable.
And then all of a sudden, Obama won, and I watched my race trip on this man.
That's what I wanted to ask
How
you.
crazy is that?
Was
Like,
everybody's
race
blaming
is
him?
such a problem.
But everybody's blaming Obama, and they're saying Obama's been the fault for the last 8 years.
And he's done so much. He hasn't been perfect.
No, but look at where we were with the deficit. He's fixed that to a degree.
He's fixed
But
unemployment.
healthcare.
He's released more federal prisoners than
than
the
any-
past 10 presidents combined.
But do you believe at the end of the day, Obama was powerless and was basically a figurine because he couldn't interact, he couldn't enact anything because of Congress?
Right. They completely left him powerless. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I blame us as the world here, you know, the United States, not the world. I blame us for not voting all those douchebags out of Congress.
Wow.
You know, like we're the ones that facilitated that. We voted people in that cock-blocked him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
I hope I can swear.
Definitely.
Okay, good.
Hey, I gotta shout out my girl Jessica. She did this. She put this epic interview together with my great lady Wendy. I am looking forward to following your more success that I've seen. Tell people where they can follow you at.
Absolutely. You can follow me at Rap Coalition, and you can also follow me on YouTube. I just set up a channel this week. This is Wendy Day. It's on YouTube, and I'm dropping jewels.
Hey,
For free.
I'm
Yay!
going to
Yay!
yay!
Free, yay!
I'm going to be pushing this link, so be looking for me to push this link. Wendy's new YouTube, and it's going to be crazy where she's going to be giving you a guide to the industry,
Exactly. Like how to make money with music.
step
basically.
by step.
Absolutely.
My new friend. Hey,
Yay.
Wendy Day. Make sure you follow her.
Peace.
Once again, it's your man Eddie Kane, 10-time award-winning radio show, The Eddie Kane Show. I love this lady.
Thank you, sweetie.
Oh,
Thank you for your time today.
thank you for your time. This is the true plug.